Hello everyone and welcome back to Chelsea Fan TV. We hope everyone is doing well today. Back with another 3 points perspective video, except as you can see, we're missing our third perspective today as Alex couldn't join us. But myself and Charlie will take you through the latest talking points. As you can see on the ticker down below, we'll be talking about Huijsen and Delap potentially missing out on those transfers and what that might look like in summer. Of course, our home kit and next season's kit is dropping on Friday and we'll be wearing it in the Man United game. So a lot of you may have seen it already, but we'll take a look, we'll discuss it, give our thoughts. It's always a fun topic talking about next season's kits. And then, of course, the biggest game, Manchester United coming to Stamford Bridge for our last home game. So that's exciting. We'll talk a little bit about that. But yes, make sure you subscribe to Chelsea Fan TV. Hit the like button and as always get involved in the comments down below. Charlie, mate, how are you doing today?
Yeah, all good. Big couple of weeks ahead, and looking forward to seeing how it's all going to play out.
Yeah, no, it's it's how mad is it that the season's done already?
It's done in 2 weeks, literally. In 2 weeks today is the Conference League final, and then to be honest though. And then in 2 weeks, the Club World Cup starts after that. So it's not really that much of a break.
Yeah, that's so true. Because as soon as the season ends, pretty much reeling into the summer window, Club World Cup, and then we're straight into the season after.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be a very intense few months. And of course, we're going to be busy. We know that. So as always, there's something going on. There's lots to talk about. So, we'll get straight into the transfer news. Chelsea made it pretty clear that we'll be straight in there first week of June because we need to strengthen ahead of the Club World Cup. We'll need some additions coming in pretty quickly. So obviously Huijsen and Delap are kind of the biggest prospects that we're looking at, or at least have been linked with. But what's the latest, Charlie, with Huijsen and Delap?
Look, obviously Huijsen, no, he's got a lot of suitors. He's done well for Bournemouth this season. The £50 million release clause, we know all that. Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal interested. But yeah, a lot of reports say that Chelsea are thought to be leading the race for him. But obviously Liverpool and Arsenal are there as well. But there's sort of come out in the last few days that Real Madrid are confident of beating Chelsea to land him. And we know Huijsen wants to play for Real Madrid. We know it's his dream to play there. And if Madrid are prepared to pay the £50 million release clause, which can actually be paid in 3 installments, then I think it's not going to come as a shock that a Spanish international wants to play for Real Madrid. And sometimes you just got to accept that no matter how big a club you are, if Real Madrid knock on the door, 99 out of 100 players are going there. It is very, very simple. I would be more annoyed if we were to miss out on Huijsen to a Liverpool or an Arsenal, for example, than to Real Madrid. Yes, Real Madrid are annoying and it's like the way they go about things and whatever, but they're the biggest club in the world and pretty much everyone wants to play for them, and particularly Spanish players as well. I wouldn't have look, if Huijsen had joined, there's always going to be that thing in the back of the mind in 2-3 years' time, this guy's going to want to go to Real Madrid. So maybe we just get that out of the way before him. But Chelsea have not given up on him. But look, if Madrid decide they want to sign him, then that's going to be a very, very easy deal to do.
Yeah, no, I get you. Obviously a very young player with a lot of potential, but to have clubs like that big calling already, there's clearly a lot of potential there, and he's going to be seen as one of the best defenders in his kind of profile and age category. So yeah, he's certainly an exciting one. And I think for me, I've always said Huijsen sounds great, but I think somebody else should be also coming in. We need a little bit of experience and we need a little bit of leadership there at the back. So that's, well and good getting Huijsen, but someone else to come with. But you can't really fault the kids. If you've got Real Madrid calling, like you said, pretty much you're not even 20 years old. Yeah, it's a big deal. I think, you can't be mad whatever club you support, like you understand it, and especially like you said, he is Spanish, and he's got, I think Malaga's his like boyhood club, isn't it? So just to be in the country, just to have his hopes of playing for his national team boosted as well by that, if he gets more minutes, is going to be a fantastic opportunity for him. But yeah, we'll see how that plays out.
It just goes to show that, doesn't it? Like, obviously, probably going to miss out on him. Now it's vitally important that the other names on the list, we don't miss out on them as well. Like, look, you're never going to always get your first target every time. You might not get your second target, but if you're going down to like third, fourth, and fifth targets, that's when it becomes a little bit of a problem. So you're looking at maybe a Jarell Hato from Ajax, but Liverpool also want him. But he's more of a left back, centre back hybrid. He'd probably be more of a replacement for Renato Vega. If he leaves, and looking at Mark Guehi, who I think would be a very good signing for us. And actually, I think it would be, if we're only signing one centre back, for me, that would be a better signing than Huijsen, just because he ticks more boxes in terms of that leadership and experience. But then after sort of Hato, Guehi, maybe Jared Brantwaite is a name that's also been mentioned. You're kind of like, if you miss out on both of those names, you're dropping down, as I said, to those third, fourth choice options, and suddenly the quality is not as good. Look, obviously Chelsea could have something up their sleeve. We've seen just deals for players appear from absolutely nowhere. We saw it with Quenda, we've seen it with Pedro Neto, we saw it with Vega as well. So there could be one or two of those, but already there's a little bit of a concern that we are potentially going to miss out on a couple of top targets in key areas that need strengthening.
Yeah, no, I get you, and I think you make a very good an observation there regarding targets. And Chelsea's a club that often gets what it wants, if that makes sense, and at least in titles where, you know, we've seen that when we go in for someone, if we really want him, we can get him over the line. But I think it's become maybe increasingly a situation where we don't really get maybe our top target, or we're perhaps looking further down below. Does it worry you that we may be losing our attraction a little bit? Obviously, Chelsea's a club with a lot of history. A lot of players dream of coming to England and playing in London, being at Chelsea. It's a massive, big thing, right? But do you worry that potentially we're losing our attraction, maybe compared to other clubs at the moment?
Yeah, definitely, potentially. But I also think now, seemingly with the kind of players that we're going for, Champions League football is becoming more and more important, and maybe it's arguably more important than it's not. I'm not just saying than it's ever been, but it certainly feels like it's taken on a significant amount of importance compared to maybe previous years. Now, Chelsea, we're still able to attract players without Champions League football, but players that are either younger players or players that are coming from lesser leagues or lesser clubs, you're not necessarily going to need that Champions League football to get them to come. It's Chelsea, it's the Premier League, it's the London lifestyle. And with the kind of the ages and the clubs that we have been kind of shopping at, that's not really an issue. But when you're looking with what we need, when you're looking to take the team to the next level, and you need players to come and improve the first team, not just squad players and more players with potential, then that's where you've got a problem. And right now, other clubs are more attractive than us, and clubs in the past that probably haven't been more attractive, like your Liverpools and your Arsenals and whatnot, are now more attractive. So that's why the Champions League is so important this year, this season, because it will have a big impact on us, on whether we get the players that we want to get. Because even players like Liam Delap, for example, someone that's done one season at in the Premier League, he's already someone that ideally for his next move, he wants Champions League football. Now you could call him unrealistic and being above his station in terms of what he should be expecting at this stage of his career, but you also have to rate the ambition potentially and how he backs himself. So yeah, if we miss out on Champions League football, then even signing someone like Liam Delap, with the greatest of respect, is unlikely to happen.
I get you. No, it's certainly true. I think in the last couple of years, maybe we haven't had that problem, because even though we haven't been in the Champions League football, like you said, we haven't necessarily brought in players who have been playing in the Champions League anyway. Like most of the youngsters, they would they bite your hand off just to play for Chelsea, regardless whether it's in the Conference League or if it's in, in the domestic competitions, etc. So it's never been, up until this point, I'd say, such a problem. But like you said, if we're looking at those kind of the bigger fish, those players that absolutely can demand to play in the elite competitions like the Champions League, then you really can't blame them. Like you look at even Enzo Fernandez, of course, he won the World Cup. That's ultimately the pinnacle of football. But in terms of club level, he's not exactly wasn't exactly someone that was playing game in, game out in the Champions League either. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's not a situation where we've had that trouble, but certainly come this summer, like you said, it's more important than ever that we are in the Champions League. You know, it goes beyond sort of financial reasons. It goes a very, very long way. So yeah, I guess we'll see how that plays out. I still like to believe that there is obviously, like you said, that incentive there, and you know, players are intrigued by the prospect of being at Chelsea. So hopefully we can see what happens with that. I can't speak today, Charlie. I can't speak. Just quickly wanted to get your thoughts, because we've been having some chats obviously this week about the kind of wage structure, and do you think that Chelsea will actually maybe bend the wage structure for that one superstar if we can get him over the line, whoever that may be? Do you think that happens this summer, or do you think that's not going to happen?
Well, I mean, right now it's just all chat. Ultimately, you can't be briefing and allowing that information to go out there, and then all the names you're linked with are the complete opposite of that. We're linked. The strongest links have been with Dean Huijsen, 20, 1 season in the Premier League. Liam Delap, 22, 1 season in the Premier League. And Jamie Gittins, 20 at Borussia Dortmund. Those have been the 3 players that we've had the strongest links with. And they don't fit that criteria at all. Yeah, you can put out there, oh, we were interested in Van Dijk if he was going to be available on a free transfer. For me, it's just all nonsense and utter rubbish until I actually see action being taken. If Chelsea are serious and that's true, because and the club have allowed that information to come out, by the way, because that's how this works. You know, information that is out there is because it's come from the club, because they want that information out there. So you cannot allow that information to go out and then not show any level of ambition. Now, I know that Victor Osimhen is virtually 99% not going to happen. You should be going and asking the question again. You should be asking the question at top players. You should be going and trying to go for Victor Gyökeres. I'm not saying we're going to get these guys, but at least show the ambition to try and get them, and show the ambition to at least give them a decision to make. Let them know, you know, we're at the table and we're serious. But the fact there's been no links really to top players with proven quality that are going to come in and make a difference, and the fact that all the links, as I said, are to the exact type of players that we don't really need any more of, is a big concern for me. And until I actually see it physically in action, and us going for players with that experience and that leadership that we need, then it's just a load of nonsense and, quite frankly, a load of lies until we see otherwise.
Yeah, no, I hear you, mate. I'm with you on that. I guess it's almost like you're a bit apprehensive because of how the last windows have played out. You want to think it's a little bit different and give him the benefit of the doubt, because we will be in the Champions League. Well, hopefully, I say that hypothetically, but hopefully. And, you know, they should know better that the direction they've been going in so far and the players they've been buying, they are perhaps good enough to develop and, you know, maybe get us over the line to get us into the competition. But to actually be in the competition and, you know, compete against the very best in Europe, we're going to need a lot of strengthening with some very, very good players. So that's on them. But yeah, we'll see just how badly we really want to do well in the Champions League, I guess, as well. Isn't that the thing?
I mean, it could potentially be a problem, because let's say, for example, and this could be a realistic window, right? You get Mark Guehi, Benjamin Sesko, and Jamie Gittins, right? That's a situation that is kind of very feasible. And to be honest, if that was the window, then you can kind of see a repeat of this season, you know, a struggle to sort of make that top 4, top 5. And it kind of leaves you with sort of your only hope being that this young squad progress and they naturally get better and they start to fulfill more of this potential. Or you've got to hope that Sesko, if it is him, does what he's paid to do and scores a load of goals. Of course, let's be real. You've got Andre Santos coming back, which could be a major help. And Esteval coming in as well could be a big plus. But again, you don't want to be putting loads of pressure on him to perform from day one. And it depends how quickly he adapts. And then you've got to throw injuries into the mix. Can we keep our key players fit?
Yeah.
Like, it could, the transfer, this, like, what happens in these last 2 games is going to have a huge impact on this summer, and therefore a huge impact on potentially how competitive we're going to be next season.
Yeah, no, 100%, mate. Well, let's kind of move into some fun news. Like we mentioned at the start, obviously our next season home kits have been released. Obviously not officially announced, but we always get them before they are anyway. But let me just bring up a picture of the home kit and we can exchange thoughts, see what you think. I find that once I see the initial kind of images, I don't love them. They tend to grow on me later on, but what do you make of this kit, mate? To me, it looks a little bit bland, and I don't know. I feel like it's missing a little. I feel like it's a bit incomplete. Someone's released like an early picture, but it's not the whole thing. If that makes sense.
No,
I don't know.
I like it. I think it's one of the best ones we've had in ages. It's simple design. There's none of that reflective badge anymore that we've had for the past
That's the
couple
thing.
of
The badge
seasons.
is probably the best bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, no, it looks good. There's a nice pattern on the shirt. I haven't got any issues with it. And it's kind of just nice to have a shirt because normally what happens is a lot of teams will play their final home game of the season in next season's home kit. We've seen Man City have released their new home kit earlier this week. And so, yeah, it's just nice to sort of, with the situation we've had with kits over the last couple of seasons where it's been a late release or there's been no sponsor on it and there's been nothing. But I think they've had to get themselves together with the Club World Cup. It's a massive kind of sponsorship / marketing opportunity. And if you're still playing in like last season's kit or something, it perhaps doesn't look particularly good on the club. But look, I like this. Look forward to seeing it. And it's definitely one of the best we've had in a long, long time. And depending on who the sponsor is going into next season, that could make or break like how good this is. Because if you get a good sponsor on it, then it just kind of elevates that up another level.
It's probably what's missing, to be fair. That's probably why I say it looks a bit bland. But I agree, for me, the badge is the best bit because it's literally just our badge. It's simple. There's no red outline of the logo. There's no reflective business, like you said. And I just think that, it really, really stands out. I don't mind the pattern. It's definitely much better. I prefer it to the zigzags that we had a few years ago when we won the Champions League. Didn't really like that one, to be honest. So I agree. I like the collar as well. But everyone in the chat, let us know what you guys think of the home kit. I think there's perhaps a bigger like towards it than an outrage. We tend to be quite mixed with our opinions, but I think most people are quite keen on that. So nice little kit. We'll see it on Friday, won't we, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, I might have read it wrong, but I'm pretty. Obviously, it's being launched on Friday, so I'd imagine that they're going to play in it on Friday because that's generally what happens. You're going to play the last home game of the season in next season's home kit. So, well, either way, we're going to see it in some capacity on Friday.
Yeah, well, Friday. So you mentioned Friday. Absolutely massive game at the Bridge. Our last of the season. We're going to be well up for it. Must-win game. A lot of pressure on it. And in many ways, it's a very doable. But whether it's as easy and straightforward on the pitch, we'll wait and see. But how are you feeling ahead of that one?
Yeah, obviously, I mean, we should be confident going into it because this Man United team are a complete embarrassment. They're 16th in the league. That literally everyone is getting 3 points against them. The Europa League final's on Wednesday, so it's literally 4 days after this game. They're going to have both eyes on that final. No one's going to want to get injured. Players are probably going to play slightly within themselves. However, our record against United in the Premier League is shocking. And part of me feels like you can't rule out a little bit of a surprise, and you also can't rule out the fact that we could just fumble it here, which would be a very Chelsea thing to do. But if you can't have confidence going into this game on Friday, then you might as well just kind of give up on the Champions League this year.
Yeah, I hear you, mate. Oh, I don't know. I just can't take it if they do surprise us. But that's the thing. Everyone says, "Oh no, like they're not very good, and it's a great time to play them." But it just always seems like a great time to play them when they're not in form, and they always come out and have a go at us. And even obviously if they're eyeing up that final and they'll be playing with that in mind, obviously they will always rise the occasion of beating Chelsea, and that's enough to get them going. But for us, there's more at stake. We are eyeing up that Champions League spot, and like you say, we don't deserve it if we don't win this one. Simple as that. But I trust that we'll create a great atmosphere. It'll be a good game. We'll be well and up for it. It always is fiery. Obviously, I'd argue one of our best home games last year was Man United at home, actually, because of the emotions in that kind of last 10 minutes.
It was a ridiculous game, really.
It was a ridiculous game. It took you through the roller coaster that you like to feel as a fan. It probably is that kind of game that keeps you at the edge of your seat, and then you're at well and happy. But there was a lot of flaws in that game. That's the problem. Obviously the result overarches it, but we were 2-0 up and it should lead to that at the death. But absolutely will set up right. In terms of setup though, obviously Nicholas Jackson, silly Jackson, got himself sent off, so he's officially out, and we basically don't have a number 9 who we can call upon that is reliable. And obviously Mark Gue is back in training. He might be available to sit on the bench, but are we going to see Pedro Neto through the middle, do you reckon? Or will we see Tyreek George maybe?
I would expect to see Neto through the middle. I would for me personally, Reece James comes in for Nicholas Jackson. You play Caicedo and Lavia in midfield. You push Enzo Fernandez up more alongside Cole Palmer, and then you have Neto down the middle, Madueke one side and George the other side. Or you could have George down the middle and Neto one side. Tyreek George will have to play because we also haven't got Jadon Sancho because of the conditions of his loan. So, yeah, George will have to play. So I would imagine that in some capacity, whatever positions they end up in, it will be George, Palmer, Neto and Madueke as kind of the 4-man attacking force, and Enzo Fernandez will be pushing up to kind of join them as well. That would be the obvious way for me to do it. I'd be very surprised if there was any other way. I don't even think there is. There's no Nkunku available. There's no Mark Gue. So I'm not seeing any other options that could possibly be done.
No, I agree. I think that sounds enough, though. Do you know what I mean? That sounds enough to get a job done. Like defensively, Manchester United lead goals left, right, and centre. If we finish our chances and we absolutely capitalise on their errors, then we'll be fine. I think George is probably. Actually, credit to Maresca for easing in George as he has. The cameos he's handed him, obviously the starts he has, have really kind of worked his way to prepare him for this moment where he's now going to have to play a very, very important highest stake Premier League game. So at least he's got the confidence, you know what I mean? He's not just getting called upon out of the blue with absolutely nothing up his belt. So I think, it's definitely under his belt. So I definitely think it's a good opportunity for him. He's got a good finish on him as well. We've seen it, and definitely someone that wants to make an impression. Already has, a lot of fans will argue. But yeah, a good chance for Neto as well. I think Neto's been a player that we almost wish he could score more. I know he's not really a goal-scoring winger as such and more of a creator. But I think, he has scored against Arsenal, hasn't he, this season? He scored against... who else did he score against? Big team.
I don't think he did.
Well, he's got about 3 goals, hasn't he? And I think he's
3 or 4 goals, yeah.
3 goals, yeah. But he has a good goal on him when he wants to score. Oh no, it was wasn't it against Fulham?
Oh yeah, he scored against Fulham. Yeah. He scored against Fulham. He scored against Southampton as well in the league. But yeah, no, that was he's not. He hasn't scored many goals, as you said. He's not a goal scoring winner.
No. But even such, I think this is a fantastic game for him to get a goal and get his name on the score sheet for a bit of confidence. He's a player that plays with a lot of passion. He understands what it means, I think, to play United. And, you don't doubt that. You said Sancho's obviously not available for this one. He will be watching from the sideline. But let's talk about our star boy, because Cole Palmer, of course, we saw him play a fantastic game against Liverpool. We'd like to see that Cole Palmer against United as well. But he really is a player that makes a difference. He fancied his chances against United last year. Maybe he could do the same. But what do you think Enzo Maresca needs to do with Cole Palmer in order to get the best out of him on Friday?
I don't really think there's much different. You just got to hope that Palmer's on it. Maybe give him a bit more of a freer role. But ultimately, I don't really think there's anything tactically that needs to change that much. He didn't have the best game against Newcastle. I don't think he was absolutely terrible, but he obviously didn't affect the game as much as we would have liked. Yes, he had a lot more of the ball in the second half, and he tried to make things happen. When you've got no sort of focal point up front and there's just no one in the box, then it obviously does make things a little bit more difficult. We just need to hope that we can get a performance like we got against Liverpool. He was very, very good there. Let's just try and get the ball to him as much as possible, and just let him do his thing.
Yeah,
I don't think we should be overcomplicating things.
No, I agree. I think in terms of setup, there was nothing else really that Maresca could have done against Newcastle, because I think, that was pretty much the strongest we could have gone. And in terms of setup, it was, as expected. So I think we just need to replicate that. Obviously, with Jackson absent, there will be a shift around and stuff. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think, it's massive, but I don't doubt that United won't be up for this one, even though they will be looking at that final. Because again, they are playing for a little bit of pride. At least they've had a terrible season and, a lot of defeats to a point where they've become quite a norm. Like nobody really says, "Oh, United have lost." It's more of like it's a norm. United
no
have
one
lost.
really cares. It's just it's just normal now, isn't it? It's like, oh, United have lost again. Okay, fine.
Okay,
whatever. Yeah, it literally has become the norm, which is kind of mad. But
yeah.
Look, obviously the pressure's on big time. We have to win this game. I'm just not sure how well this group deals with pressure when it's really on, because now we've used up our margin for error by losing at Newcastle. There is now no margin for any error whatsoever. Obviously, we could still, we could drop points against Man United and still somehow scrape in if results go in our favour. But you drop points to United and results go as you'd expect them to go, then it's no longer in our hands and you're not in control of your own destiny. So the fact that we're still in control of our destiny, given how inconsistent we've been and given how poor we've been over the course of the season, is still a good thing. But yeah, our ability to deal with high pressure situations, I'm still very much concerned if we can actually do that. Because when the pressure's really been on this season, you can say the pressure was on against Liverpool to get a result, but that wasn't playing a Liverpool like it would have been earlier in the season. Not to discredit us, because we still played very well.
Yeah.
But obviously they weren't 100% at it. But you can only play what's in front of you. But generally speaking, when the pressure's been on in big games this season, we've kind of folded under the pressure, or we've not been able to deliver when we need to.
Yeah.
Now there's no excuses, and the players have got to find something from somewhere and get the job done.
No, I agree with you. And I think, we only have ourselves to blame for actually getting to a stage where these games are so high pressure now and so much emphasis on must win, because again, we got ourselves in the situation. But like you say, the reason is because we have folded in a lot of these kind of games where they were winnable on paper and we made it again difficult for no reason. So yeah, I mean, I think we just have to absolutely be up for it. But at least one thing that gives me some confidence is the fight we displayed in the second half against Newcastle, a man down. To have that, to be able to do that at St. James's Park takes real courage. And so we could have easily just conceded another 3 and just walked away, absolutely dejected. But we didn't. We conceded, yes, at the very death, but there was also an opportunity to equalise after sort of minute 70 to 80. So again, we showed some fight, show that fight against United as well. But score, get the opener and then be in control, dictate the game. That's absolutely what we want to see. If we can score a few goals, that'd be fantastic. But it's just really about the 3 points, isn't it? And getting those away. But should we do a quick score prediction before we round out?
I think this will probably be a lot closer than what people expect. I think people are expecting it to be quite one-sided, very straightforward, but they could potentially cause us some problems. I do think we'll concede. I'll go for a narrow 2-1 win, but I think it could get quite nervy. Yeah.
Well, I already said 3-1 earlier this week, so I'll back that and continue on. But like you, I don't really think we'll keep a clean sheet. That's always difficult for us, isn't it? So yeah,
we've got Villa kicking off 45 minutes before us against Tottenham. So like, you know that people will be aware of what the Aston Villa score is.
That's
and I can guarantee there'll be a time during the game where Villa are winning and we're not, and then it's suddenly we're behind again.
Yeah, I hear you, but yeah, we'll just have to wait out and see. But everyone who's watching, thank you very much. Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Let us know how you feel about the United game. Are you optimistic? Are you feeling a bit nervous? Do you reckon we can do it? Let us know your score predictions. Hit the like button, of course, and subscribe to Chelsea Fan TV. Also, check out myself and Charlie's YouTube channels, which will be linked in the description down below. Take care of yourselves, guys. We will see you very, very soon. And, of course, up the Chels.